The sun was barely up when the bulldozer roared to life, shattering the quiet of my first morning at my new lakefront home in Clearview Shores, Texas. I'd bought this modest two-bedroom house with the life insurance money from my late wife, Emily, who'd lost her battle with cancer the previous year. The realtor had promised a sturdy dock came with the property, a perfect spot for my morning coffee and fishing gear. It was a weathered pine structure, built with love by the previous owner, Mrs. Thompson, who'd spent decades watching sunrises from it. Standing there, cup in hand, I thought I'd found a sliver of peace. But at 9:10 a.m., that peace was obliterated. A sharp voice cut through the morning air. "Are you David Carter?" I turned to see a woman in her early 50s, clipboard in hand, designer blouse pristine, marching toward me like she owned the place. Behind her, unbelievably, was a full bulldozer crew, professional operators, not some ragtag team. "I'm Susan Reynolds, HOA president," she declared, her face as cold as her tone. "This dock's illegal. Demolition starts now." My stomach dropped. Illegal? It's been here for 25 years. It came with the house. But Susan wasn't listening. She waved the bulldozer forward, her eyes gleaming with something unsettling excitement. I fumbled for my phone, dialing 911. "Someone's destroying my property." The operator's response chilled me. "If it's HOA emergency authority, sir, that's a civil matter. We can't interfere." Susan smirked, like she'd heard it all before. As the bulldozer tore into my dock, I filmed everything, my hands shaking with rage. Susan wasn't just supervising, she was digging through the debris herself, designer clothes be damned, searching for something. The operators exchanged confused glances, clearly not used to an HOA president getting her hands dirty. Then, at 9:25, a county truck pulled up. Inspector Mark Daniels stepped out, looking baffled. "Ma'am, why are you demolishing a legal structure?" Susan's confidence vanished. "Legal? No, this was an emergency safety issue." Daniels checked his tablet. "Permitted in 1999. All inspections passed. $18,000 construction." He turned to me. "Sir, this is criminal property damage. You can press charges." Susan's face crumpled. She dropped to her knees, begging, "Please, don't call the police. I made a mistake." But her eyes told a different story. She knew exactly what she was doing. That moment sparked a fire in me. Emily always said bullies count on good people staying quiet, and I wasn't about to let Susan win. My elderly neighbor, Clara Evans, brought me coffee the next morning and dropped a bombshell. "She knew when you were moving in." Clara revealed Susan wasn't just the HOA president, she was a real estate agent for Prestige Properties, with a scheme to force homeowners out for profit. She targeted my lot months before I bought it, bragging about a buyer lined up for a quick sale. Her plan? Invent violations, pile on fines, and pressure owners into selling cheap to her brother-in-law's company, Horizon Estates. A 6% commission on an $800,000 property meant $48,000 for Susan. She'd done it before. Clara listed 3 families driven out by similar tactics, all waterfront lots sold through Susan's firm. Susan had researched me like a predator. She knew about Emily's cancer, the medical bills, the life insurance payout. She bet I couldn't afford a legal fight. Her plan was ruthless: destroy my dock, bury me in fines, then swoop in with a solution, a cash buyer to save me. That afternoon, she showed up with a $20,000 offer to replace the dock, acting like a concerned neighbor. "My friend at Horizon Estates could buy your place, save you the hassle," she said, her eyes calculating. I played along, pretending to consider it, but inside, I was seething. Emily's advice echoed: give liars enough rope to hang themselves. Susan kept talking, revealing her brother-in-law, James Reynolds, owned Horizon Estates. It was a family hustle. By Wednesday, Susan's harassment hit new lows. She cited my grass for being half an inch too tall, $200 fine, my mailbox for chipped paint, $150, even a garden gnome left by Mrs. Thompson, $300. She prowled my yard with a ruler, snapping photos, looking unhinged in her designer heels. Neighbors watched, shaking their heads. I complied with every violation, mowed the lawn, repainted the mailbox, documenting her every move. The HOA covenant required 2 board members' approval for fines, but Susan was acting solo, breaking her own rules. At the county courthouse, I found her pre-development inquiry for my lot, filed 6 months before I moved in. Worse, she'd accessed my private financials credit reports, medical debt, Emily's insurance payout. It was stalking, plain and simple. Friday's emergency HOA meeting was my chance to strike. The community center was packed, rumors swirling. Susan presented a slick slideshow, painting me as a troublemaker threatening property values. She was polished, confident until I asked, "Susan, when did you first contact developers about my property?" The room went silent. I held up the county records. "You filed a pre-development inquiry 6 months before I moved in." Care to explain? Her composure cracked. "Routine research," she stammered, but the crowd wasn't buying it. When I revealed she'd accessed my medical records, gasps filled the room. Susan's meltdown was epic. She screamed about ungrateful newcomers, digging her own grave. As she stormed out, I saw her make a panicked phone call, hands trembling, glancing over her shoulder. She wasn't the mastermind. She was reporting to someone bigger. Saturday morning, 4 county trucks arrived: fire, health, police, code enforcement, all responding to anonymous complaints about my property. Gas leaks, sewage odors, loud music, none of it real. The fire chief apologized, noting this was the 3rd false alarm in the area that month. I showed each inspector my evidence, and the code enforcement officer confirmed Susan's pattern of targeting newcomers and elderly residents. Sunday, Susan arrived with a lawyer, accusing me of harassment. Her attorney took one look at my documentation and shut her down. "Ma'am, you destroyed a legal doc. He can sue for damages, harassment, maybe conspiracy." Susan's face paled, but she doubled down, claiming I was spreading lies online, lies I'd never posted. Monday, she tried to call an emergency HOA vote to expel me, but the other board members refused. "You're making us look bad," one told her. Tuesday, my new security cameras caught Susan trespassing, posting more absurd violation notices. She kicked my garden hose in a rage, muttering to herself, oblivious to being filmed. The footage was damning, but Officer Ryan spotted something: Chalinga figure lurking behind a tree, watching my house. "They're coordinating with her," he said. "This is bigger than one woman." Detective Laura Hayes confirmed it. Susan was part of a 3-county property fraud ring, involving corrupt officials and developers. My footage was the breakthrough they needed. Susan's arrest Wednesday morning was oddly satisfying. Handcuffed in her bathrobe, she demanded a lawyer, knowing her empire was crumbling. Neighbors came forward with horror story-ish targeted families at their weakest, like the Wilsons during their son's therapy or the Garcias after a cancer diagnosis. Clara revealed 3 years of secret files, documenting Susan's victims. The civil lawsuit I filed was just the start: property damage, harassment, privacy violations. But the criminal charges were worse: conspiracy, fraud, identity theft, organized crime. Susan's ex-husband in the county assessor's office had sold her private data, fueling her schemes. Her brother-in-law, James, turned on her to save himself. Hidden files Clara found in the community center exposed Susan's succession plan, a manual for training others to continue her fraud. It detailed targeting vulnerable homeowners, coordinating harassment, and splitting profits. The investigation ballooned into a RICO case, uncovering 12 families targeted across 3 counties, 8 forced sales, and $400,000 in profits. Susan's financial ruin was swift. Legal fees drained her savings, her real estate license was revoked, and her reputation was destroyed. She offered $75,000 to settle, but I demanded $25,000 for the doc, a public apology, her HOA resignation, and cooperation with police. She had no choice but to comply. Clara became interim HOA president, implementing transparent policies, recorded meetings, public financials, dual approvals for violations. The community healed, property values rose 20%. Victims reclaimed their homes, and the scandal inspired the Homeowner Protection Act, curbing HOA abuse nationwide. 3 years later, I ran into Susan at a Dallas airport, selling phone accessories, a shadow of her former self. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and I believed her. "You've paid the price," I said. "I hope you find peace." Today, my rebuilt dock hosts kids fishing and neighbors celebrating. My Fair Housing Defense Fund helps families fight similar battles. The sunrise over Clearview Shores is breathtaking, and every morning, I sip coffee knowing Emily would be proud. A new email arrives. My HOA is using Susan's tactics. Help. The fight never ends, it just moves where it's needed most.